Have you ever wondered why sparkling wine can only be called champagne if it comes from a very specific part of France? Or why certain cheeses have protected names? What gives a name like that so much power? Well, today we're going to find out exactly what's in a name. So let's dive right in with a classic example. Why is it that tea, even if it's the same plant, grown with the same methods, can't legally be called Darjeeling tea if it's grown anywhere else in the world? What's the secret? The answer, it turns out, is in a really fascinating part of international trade law. It all comes down to a concept called geographical indications, or GIs for short. So what on earth is a geographical indication? You can think of it like a special seal of authenticity for a product. It's basically a guarantee that says, hey, I'm from this exact place, and my unique taste, my quality, my whole reputation, it's all because of where I come from. This official definition ties a product's identity directly to its roots. Now, this isn't some brand new idea, not at all. In fact, countries have been getting together for over 100 years trying to figure out how to protect these special place names on a global scale. Let's take a quick look at how that whole story played out. The journey really starts way back in 1883 with something called the Paris Convention. That was the first time a major treaty even touched on where products come from. From there, other agreements added more rules, banning fake labels and eventually setting up an international sign-up system. But the real game changer, the one that matters most today, is from 1995, the TRIPS Agreement. And that brings us right to the TRIPS Agreement. The name is a bit of a mouthful. It stands for Trade-Related Aspects of Intellectual Property Rights. But what you need to know is that this is the bedrock of GI protection today. It's run by the World Trade Organization, which means pretty much every country on the planet has signed on. Now, here's where it gets interesting. TRIPS sets up two different levels of protection. There's a general level of protection for all goods, which basically just stops people from using misleading labels. But then there's a higher, much stronger level of protection that's reserved only for wines and spirits. This is exactly why you can't just call your sparkling wine champagne style and say it's from California. The name itself is completely protected. It's off limits, period. Okay, so that's the big global picture. But how does a huge international treaty like this actually affect things on the ground in a specific country? For that, India is a perfect case study. See, as a member of the World Trade Organization, India had to play by the TRIPS rules. And to do that, it couldn't just point to the international treaty. It had to build its very own set of laws to put those ideas into practice at home. And that's exactly what it did. In 1999, India passed its own big landmark law, the Geographical Indications of Goods Act. This law officially kicked off in 2003. It set up a central office, the GI Registry down in Chennai, and the law was written to be really broad. It wasn't just for agricultural products. It was designed to protect everything from unique handicrafts and manufactured goods to all kinds of foodstuffs. So the new law is in place. The stage is set. And in 2004, the very first product in India was officially granted this special GI tag. Any ideas what it was? Yep, you guessed it. It was Darjeeling tea. And that brings us full circle, right back to our first question. The reason Darjeeling tea can only come from Darjeeling is because in 2004, it was legally recognized as India's very first geographical indication. But of course, the story doesn't just stop there. The world of GIs is always changing, and believe it or not, it's still a pretty hot topic in global trade talks today. The big debate right now is all about that additional protection, the super strong kind we saw for wines and spirits. On one side, you have countries like India and the European Union. They're pushing hard to give that same level of protection to their own famous products, things like specialty cheeses, teas, and rice. But on the other side, countries like the United States are pushing back, saying, nope, let's just keep the system the way it is. And India is a major force in this fight. It's not just sitting on the sidelines. It's actively at the negotiating table at the WTO, and it's making sure to write strong GI protections into its new free trade agreements with places like the EU and Japan. It's a constant battle to protect the value and identity of iconic products, with basmati rice being another huge example. When you look at all this, you realize that geographical indications are so much more than just a label on a package. They're actually really powerful tools. They protect the economies of rural areas, they help preserve cultural traditions, and they really help shape a nation's identity on the world stage. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. In today's super crowded global marketplace, how much does a name's origin truly matter to us? How much value should we put on knowing exactly where something comes from? It's a question that gets to the very heart of what makes a product and a place truly unique. Thanks for tuning in.